Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is log out. So if you go to the browser, and after we've logged in, we click this log out button, it says you have been logged out, and it gives us the username and password form again. And like we talked about in our previous video, the URL actually says action equals log out. And so that's the value that we're testing against in order to log the user out. So let's go ahead and look at the code when that happens. I'm going to scroll back up to the top. We're starting our session here, establishing our notices and users array, checking to see the action request variable. Now again, we're using request because request includes all post values and all get values. So we'll grab everything from the query string in the URL, but it will also take those hidden post variables too. When we ran login, that was a post variable, but this time we're using logout, which is a get variable since it's in the URL query string. When we log out, what we want to do is completely erase the session variable. So we're going to use a function called session destroy. That will actually end the session and destroy that variable. Right afterwards, we're going to start the session again just in case we expand our code later in order to use that session in some way before the user logs in. And then we're going to add a notice to the notices array here that says you've been logged out. And finally, we'll break out of this switch statement, and then that's the end of the if statement. As we scroll down here, we're going to check to see if the session username is set, which it's not anymore. And so we're going to print out the login form. And finally, we're going to render our notices and then print out the notices plus our output, which again is our login form. So a good thing to test at this point is to see whether this is something that you can do from memory. You should have a pretty good sense of the mechanics of a login form and see if you can figure out how to code it from scratch without looking at anything here. If you can do that, then you have a pretty good grasp of the steps that it takes in order to process a form, and also understanding the login process is really useful even if you're using an existing platform like Drupal that has a login feature already.